Hi there, I'd like to show you some harp patches from my sound library, Scattered Entity for MachFive 3. There are plenty of harp sounds. I sampled a Celtic harp, which has a +3 octave range. And here we have one of the main harp patches, where I sampled the harp in tune to C major, sampling all 7 pitches per octave. And at 3 velocities and 4 times round robin. The highest velocity layer, not labor, was picked with the fingernail, so it has a sort of very edgy sound with a small glissando. Let's listen to it, and I'll show you what we can do with the interface. For the very high notes, I just copied some notes from the octave below, keeping the root note but transposing it, because the very high 4 notes of the harp just sounded a bit shitty, I must admit. So beyond the E up here, and I also extended it to the low range. So usually the lowest note would be here, but I copied the samples from the octave above. Now we have here a control for velocity sensitivity. If you have it to the hard left, the whole velocity range will get sort of compressed, and the lowest level velocity layer gets louder. And you can have more velocity sensitivity. So you just adjust it to your needs. Then I brought in this mute button, simulating sort of a muted harp. So it just gets rid of all the sustain and damps the high frequencies. Let's demute it again. Then we have a filter which lets you just cut the high frequencies and also assign the cutoff to the velocity, so it gets dull. Now you bring in velocity to filter. Maybe just reduce the amp velocity at this moment. Or just use it without out velocity. Oh, there's some noise out there. I have the windows open here. Whatever. Of course you can turn the filter off too. Then you have the usual sustain, decay, attack. To have a very short one. Now we are listening to it with the chorus on. You can put the chorus off, get a more pure sound. And then just speed of the chorus, mix of chorus, and the delay in the chorus itself. Of course, all these buttons can be automated via MIDI. You just right click and assign any MIDI controller to it. It's just either by choosing it from the menu or by moving it. Is that possible? Let's just move it. Yes, just moving this. Now we have the pitch thing here. To get the Celtic harp a bit more into the Asian hemisphere. First you can have the aftertouch. Let's reduce the reverb for now. Make it shorter. Well, you could never do that with the levers of the Celtic harp. That would just not be happening. Then you can also randomize the pitches, either very subtly, so like if the harp would be detuned a bit. Or drastically. We have some overload, sorry. In case you need that. Then we have a sort of, I call it a koto gliss. Like the Japanese koto always has this small glissando in the beginning of a note. Bit of it, maybe, or drastic. Then, of course, you have something a harp couldn't really do. It's not about realism, it's about fun. Some Pitch modulation, where you can also alter the speed, of course. It's assigned to the mod wheel. No, yes it is. Then you have an EQ section for high and low cut boost. And a compressor which has been on. I will actually add another makeup gain button here, set between 0 and 60 dB. My scripter Ian Morland hasn't done that yet because I haven't told him so. I'll ask him to add this. And we have this can all be switched on and off, of course. Then you have reverb on off if you want to use external stuff. The Spark reverb works quite well with this patch, I must say. With most of the patches, I think it's a great reverb. The best onboard reverb I've heard, I must admit. If you want huge spaces, more reverb modulation. You can just turn this into a very ambient pad-like sound too if you want. Okay, let's look at a different patch. Here this is called Celtic Harp Granular Bisbigliando. A bisbigliando on the harp is actually tremulating between two notes which are tuned to the same pitch for repetitions. On a harp usually this is a very soft sound, but I sampled it very closely mic'd and boosted it, so it's like a pretty yes, convincing tremolo sound. It's multi-sampled, you see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, several zones here. If you want to get info on any patch, you just click on the script, then you can come to the info page, back to script, and you have the interface. So this is granular. Let's just check some things. Grain size. The position variation of the grains, the pitch variation, the density of the grains, and the speed of the samples. Like how fast the sample playhead is scrolling through the samples. Let's set it to very slow first. So it's like frozen. Grain density. This determines the filter modulation, how much, the speed of it, and the resonance of the filter. Let's go to the lower range. figured that's the distortion mix. You can turn off the distortion and on. Then you have a slow phaser thing here. Turn it on and off to get more space, stereo moving space. Just lay out and play it on the big keyboard for a while. So very fast you are into quite abstract textures too. This was the grain pitch variation, distributing the grains over an octave randomly. And with the density very much turned down, get this very strange, stochastic, unpredictable pitch textures. Of course, you can use it just for a bit of detune too. I just noticed my sample buffer size of Logic is set to very low as I was just tracking some drums. So you hear some CPU spikes because the granular engine at very low buffers, many nodes, does eat a lot of CPU, but it sounds great. So set your sample buffer to maybe 128 or 256, depending on your computer. And you should be fine if you don't play 100 notes at the same time. Let's have a look at some other patches. So that was the Bisbigliando. Here we had the harp flageolet, harp arp. Here we have some glissandi stuff. Was actually like tuning the harp to a Dorian scale. I made several patches with that Dorian glissando stuff, and then mixing in a synth to add some root notes, so to speak. In the background, you actually see the harp I sampled. Well, some of it. Let's play some lower notes here. Turn the synth down for now. Actually, the harp glissando is run through a tuned comb filter, so that which gives it additional pitch distinction, which means turning up the pitch variation of the grains actually adds more like animation to the sound. It doesn't actually create this strange pitch detuned cloud which we had before, but it just resonates more in the tuned comb filter, which has a very high resonance. Actually, the voices in the grain oscillator are set to unison with two voices, so they have different start points. So you have like two grain streams, also panned in the stereo, which makes it a very dense texture. This is the low CPU version. There's even a high CPU version which has 3 detuned voices, but eats more CPU, and which makes it even richer, the whole texture. You can also increase the filter resonance of the synth, which has a slow LFO applied to the cutoff of some hybrid filter, I guess. I won't check now. Okay, more strange harp sounds. Let's show you another one. I could go on forever, actually. What's this? This is mixing a recent bird sound with a Dorian glissando. This is not scripted. This has 8 macros assigned. Let's play a few notes with this one. The mod wheel lets you change the speed of the harp glissando. I really have to increase the buffer size for now. Wait, just give me a sec. Yeah, it's set to 64. That doesn't happen. I just raised. We are back online. I was offline. Now we should have more fun with the CPU. If I choose the right track, yes. So here we have the volume of the harp, or just the recent bird sound, which you can also animate. I'll show you in a sec. And here you have some convolution reverb, but it's not a usual reverb impulse response, but it's some tubular bells I put in there, which create this very strange this is like a tubular bell space for the harp and the synth to go through. This is the main reverb in the end. Some ring modulation modulation. You can get rid of the harp with this knob, then you just have the resynthed bird. That's why the patch is called Harp Gliss Up Dorian Birds V2. Oh, this will be the normal version. I just changed it this morning, so this is it. You can animate this sound, meaning it's the sample speed, LFO speed, several things combined. Add some resonance for the filter. Add tempo sync pitch mod also to the harp. Yes. Strange Harpland. And one more, Harp Gliss Drone. This is actually something where I played an ostinato, playing a sequence of accents on tuned to the low C on the harp, and then turning the lever up and down for a small semitone glissandi, also creating these rattling noises, which I really love. And this I also mixed with the synth. Let's start at a low range. Play on the big keyboard. Now with the mod wheel you bring in some distortion. Then you have grain density of the harp inverted, so turning it to the right will decrease the density. Make it less nervous. Harp speed too. You can actually look at the sample here. This is a very long sequence of how you see it. It's going back and forth, looping back and forth. And now you can have aftertouch to play some glissandi. It's affecting both the synth and the harp. Bring in the synth. Some amplitude modulation, tempo sync. Yeah, it's fun to play. Here you just have on off for reverb and delay if you want to use external. Still, it's a long fat delay with a lot of tabs. And here you just have the same for the reverb. Yeah, this should be enough for now, otherwise this video gets like a week long. Yeah, stay tuned, more to come. I'll do a video with some waterphone patches next. Okay, bye.